Hello and welcome to lesson 3 in our coding unit. This lesson is we're actually going to start putting code in and using the game lab. So there's no more just clicking where you want your pieces to go. So let's go to our instructions from our Google Doc. So lesson 3, drawing in game lab. Now I put this picture here. These are the key parts, and you'll see that in a video here when you watch it, of the game lab. Okay, so this red area, 1, these are your instructions. Read these first. This is telling you what you're going to need to do. I'm not going to go through and give you very specific instructions on this, okay? So you need to follow the instructions that are written here. Okay, you may have to scroll down to see all your information here. So you can see how it says do this right here. That's what I'm going to be looking for if you have accomplished, okay? Next part is your workspace. So this is where you're going to be adding code to it. You're going to be sometimes you just need to change codes in the program based on what your instructions say. Third is your toolbox. Right here we only have one tool, but as we go on, we're going to be adding more and more tools that you can drag over to your workspace to add. You can always, if you're a little more ambitious, go to the show text and it will show you the actual coding language that this program uses. And there's several different languages, so if you learn one, you may not necessarily know all of them, but you can adapt them, and they're all a little bit differently. And then the last part is run your program to see what happens, and you've kind of already have been doing that. So I want to make sure that we cover those 4 main areas of our game lab. All right, so back to unit 3. So I'm actually going to be drawing again. First part, read through the overview. Again, I'm not going to be reading through all of these for you. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. Continue on. Okay, so in part 2, read the instructions. So we'll start there. So welcome to Game Lab, where you can create interactive animations and games. You've already practiced the basics of putting shapes on the grid. In Game Lab, you'll do the same with the display area on the left. So do this. Here's our instructions. Click at the line of code in the workspace below. These instructions, right? Here's our workspace. And again, sometimes it has show me where. There it is. Okay. And discuss with your partner where you think the shape will be drawn on the grid. Now, you probably don't have a partner. If there's someone there you can talk to, that's fine. So again, just before you click run, try and figure out where do you think the shape is going to be. Okay, I'll give you a moment to think. Again, X is horizontal, Y, even shows you here X and Y. Y is your vertical. So you think it's going to be more top left, more top right, bottom left, bottom right, right in the center. Again, it's a 4x4 grid. If you want to click on your grid, you can. All right, think you know where it's going to be? Go ahead and click run. Okay, so it seems to be more in the top left area, but still kind of near the center. So if that's kind of where you thought it was going to be, good job. Again, rectangles, it's looking at that top left corner to determine where the location is going to be. So now it wants you to change the numbers inside the block, then try running the program again. So let's do 300, 100. We'll just change one. Okay. Oh, keep playing, sorry. I meant to reset and then run it again. So I kept the Y, which is my vertical, the same. So that didn't change, but I changed my X. So now it has moved over to the right. Okay. Same thing, you can try. Let's change both of them. Let's do a 200. And what happens if we go to a 0? Reset and run. Okay, so 0 will be at the top for the Y and 200 is the middle line. So that's what puts it there. Now, if I do 200, 400, I reset and I run it, my square doesn't show up. Now that's because 400 is way down here, and if we're looking at the top left corner, that's putting it off of the screen. So when you're working with rectangles, you can't go all the way to 400. Okay, so now you've changed it a couple times, maybe see when it does. Try to place the rectangle near the bottom right of the screen. See how far bottom right you can put it on the screen and still be able to see it. So that is your goal for part 2. Again, change the numbers in the workspace to move the square to the bottom right of the screen, but still visible. So that's your task for part number 2. When you think you have it in the right spot, go ahead, click finish, and you can continue on. Okay, part 3 is a video. I will let you watch that on your own. There are 2 questions back on the instructions for you to answer after you watch the video. So make sure you're looking for where can you find more information about how to use the blocks and what's an advantage of using block mode. And those questions are right up here too to help you out, okay, in case you forgot. Okay, so go ahead and watch the video to answer your questions. When you're done, we will continue. So again, if you want to pause the video to watch pause this video to watch the coding video, I'd recommend that. All right, moving on to 4, placing squares, or they're called rectangles here because once we start changing their lengths in the next lesson, they're not going to be squares anymore. Okay, so place squares and corners. A big part of using GameLab is understanding position. Remember, you can always turn on the grid or hover the mouse. You can see where the mouse, it tells you what spot is going to be also to help find the X and Y position you want. So go ahead, use the show grid, that's completely up to you. Place 2 rectangles exactly in the corners of the screen, just like the picture. So if we run it right now, we have one at rectangle at 100, 100. So you're gonna have to figure out what coordinate this one is and what coordinate this one is. You're gonna have to add a rectangle to do that. I'm gonna go to my toolbox and drag it over, okay? So now I have 2 rectangles, but I still don't quite have them in the right spots. If you got this one in the last, or step 2, you may already know the coordinates for it. Okay, and again, double checking. So place squares or the rectangle so it looks like the picture in the instructions. There should be one on the top left corner and one in the bottom right. So again, right here, I'm kind of just restating what your objective is, okay? Move on to the next one. Okay, again, another video. And here your question is, what's the difference between stroke and fill? So again, you will need to answer that back on the instruction sheet. So again, go ahead, watch the video and see if you can figure out the difference between fill and stroke. Okay. And then 6 and 7, we're just following the instructions at code.org. Okay, so fill color. You can also make your rectangles, because you're probably getting tired of the gray. Rectangles, different colors with fill. It is the set of color for every shape that comes after in the code. Okay, so right now our fill is blue. If I were to run it, I have 2 blue squares. But under I do this, look at the code that sets the color. Again, if you need help, show me where. Here's the code. All right, so I'm going to change the blue to yellow. And you have to make sure you spell them correctly, or otherwise the computer is not going to recognize what color you are using. Okay, so if I were to reset it and run, I now have 2 yellow squares. Okay, so we changed it. Add a new square by dragging a rectangle block to the code area below the fill command. Again, show me where. Drag this block to the code area. All right, there's our rectangle. The new square can go on any location on the screen you like. Please at least change it, don't just put it at, leave it at 200, 200. Okay, show me you can kind of put them where you go. Also in any of these lessons, there is, a lot of them have help or tips. So may give you a little bit extra information on helping you complete your tasks. All right, moving on to the next one. Again, I'm not giving you the complete answers for these because I still want you guys to kind of work them out. All right, number 7, order matters. In GameLab, it matters what order your code is in. New shapes are drawn on top of the ones that came before, covering up the shape that are drawn first. You can see the difference when you use more than one color in your code, okay? So think of it like when we were doing our Google Drawings, anything we put on the bottom or anything we put on first is on the bottom. Then if we add something new, it goes on top and it keeps layering up. So you have to think about order. In code, it starts, so the first thing you put is on the bottom. And then, so this red rectangle will be on the bottom, and then on top is going to be the blue rectangle. Okay, so let's do this. Look at the code that draws the 2 rectangles. First, it is drawn red, and second is drawn blue. Change the red's rectangle color to green. All right, fill, change red to green. And change the order of the code so that the green rectangle appears on top. So if I run it, right now the green one is on the bottom. To move it to the top, I have to move the code. Now I don't have to add new code. I can simply drag it. So if it's on the top, I now have to move it to the bottom. So I move the fill, but now if you see, it's gray. So I have to move the rectangle down as well. So now I have my blue rectangle and then my green rectangle. I reset, run, there it is, and it should look like the picture on your instructions. Just another note, just like how you can add items to the workspace from the toolbox, if you drag anything from your workspace back to the toolbox, that will remove it from your code. So that's just something else to know when you are working in the game lab. All right, finished. So I did give you the answer to that one. Okay, and then part 8, you're going to add an ellipse circle of a different color to the program at any location. So I bet that's what our instructions say here as well. So ellipse, you can use ellipse to make a circle. Look at the code that makes the ellipse. So it looks very similar to the rectangle. It just says ellipse instead of rectangle. Add a new ellipse of a different color. So again, when we're plotting circles, you're looking at the center. So if I were to run, the center of the circle is at that 100, 100, not the top left corner, because there is no top left corner in a circle. Okay, so we'll look at the code, make an ellipse, add a new ellipse of a different color. So we're going to have a different fill. You can keep it simple. See if pink goes well with teal. And I'm going to add the ellipse. Let's put it at 300, 300, just to kind of make it a little more uniform. Reset and run, and there is my pink circle with my teal circle. All right, so that's it for that one. Let's take a look. All right, so debugging. Debugging is another word of fixing a program that's already there. So you're not going to be just completely starting from scratch. You have to figure out what's wrong with the code, okay? And this is one of those purple ones that I've talked about before. And I'll show you up here. So it has that check mark. So this is an assessment. This is for me to check to see if you understand what we are doing, okay? So often code doesn't work the first time it runs, and programmers have to debug it. The code below is supposed to make the picture on the right, but programmer got confused about which corner or which order the code should be in, as well as how to put a square in the right place on the screen. So first, look at the code in the workspace, change the code so it makes the picture on the right. So here is key. You'll need to move one line of code and change the coordinates of the square. So that's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about a lot of this. You just have to figure out which line to move and then where the square needs to be. So if I were to run it, so our square right now is on the bottom, or our rectangle. So if we want it to be on top, think about where it should be in the location. All right, and then make sure it's purple, and then we'll have to change the coordinates to figure out where this is going to be, to get it to fit. And if you're looking up here, it looks like that corner is in the center of that circle. So you just have to figure out which circle that is, and then that would be your coordinates. Again, squares are the top left corner, circles are the centers for their plotting points. So when you have that done, go ahead and finish and continue. And then part 10, and just read the review of what was covered in the lesson. It goes over the vocabularies, the blocks that we learned. So we now can use a rectangle block, an ellipse block, and a fill block. So make sure you're comfortable with all 3 of those blocks, because we will be continuing to use them. Everything in coding is just building on what we have already done. And then we continue, and then it's ready for lesson 4, but I will do that in another video. So hope to see you again soon.